Hello and welcome back to Waterhouse Forde. So this week we've had a few more parts arrive for the Ferguson. The main thing was the bushes they fit inside the trumpet housing, and they are what the brake cross shaft rides on at that end. So those have arrived. We're going to get those installed in a minute, and we'll obviously show you how we do that. The other thing I ordered was there was one of the on the trumpet housing, one of the studs actually wasn't a stud, it was a bolt. So somebody had replaced the stud with a 7/16 course a UNC bolt instead of the stud. So I actually ordered two extra studs or new studs for that. One just to spare. And then I also got all new nuts for the trumpet housing. Looking at some of those, some of them were fine, but some of them were quite corroded. They had very sort of rounded edges. Looks like they've been may have been damaged during the shot blasting when the tractor was shot blast. So I thought I'd just replace all of them. And I got some spring washers as well, anti-vibrational spring washers, basically. Now, I don't think that the trumpet housing is meant to have spring washers. Certainly didn't have when I took them off, but I thought I'd just put some on anyway. So I got those. I'll take you over there in a minute and show you what we got. Excuse the background noise. The wind is absolutely howling here the past few days, but today in particular. And in fact, we've had a tremendous amount of rain here in North Devon recently as well. And our river has flooded. And the Forde is not a ford. It's just completely covered in water. So I've actually got some video footage of that, and I'll tack it onto the end of this video for you, so you can see how the river looks in winter. Right, so what I thought we'd do today, as I said, we'll get those bushes into the trumpet housings. We will get all the studs put back on that one side that I showed you last week. We have cleaned it up. We'll get the studs out of the other side and clean that side up. And then we're pretty much ready to reinstall the crown gear. So that probably won't be, I probably won't finish that this video, but I'm intending to finish it this weekend, meaning it'll probably be in the next video, which hopefully I'll publish next week for you anyway. So yeah, hopefully it'll be interesting again. The channel we seem to be picking up a lot more views recently. If you're new to the channel, welcome. It's great to have you along, and hopefully you're finding the content interesting. Subscriber numbers haven't really gone up, but the views certainly seem to be they're creeping up slowly. So quite pleased about that, and hopefully we're doing something right. So yeah, follow along and see what we get up to today. Some of it we'll probably make up as we go, but I'm hoping this weekend to get the most of the back end complete, and then maybe from next week we'll start moving into the transmission housing and see what's going on in there. So right, so I'll just get set up and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so as I said, new bushes for the brake cross shaft. Don't know if you can see that, but look, it's Agriline 6238 if you need the part number. It's not the other one. Where's the other one gone? It's not 6266. These are actually for the shaft that goes through the gearbox for the brake and clutch shaft. So yeah, it's not those, which I'm going to use anyway. The other thing I've got, I found these. This is the washer that sits up against the back of the brake plate, the brake shoe plate, and that this spring sort of rides up against. I found these Now where did I buy those from? I bought those from, I need to look it up. I'll put it in the description of the video. It wasn't Agriline. It was a company I've not used before, but I found those, and they also had these studs, and they were actually marked as studs for the trumpet housing for the TED, well, for the TE20. And as you can see, they're 7/16 coarse thread on one side, fine thread on the other, and they're about, I think it was 1.25 inches long, I think it was. But I mean, I could have just ordered studs anyway, but these guys had them, and they had them marked as specifically for the TE20. So, and they were priced very well, very good price as well. And then they had these washers, so I thought, well, you know what, I'll just get them anyway. Then, as I say, I bought all new nuts, 7/16 fine thread nuts for the again for the trumpet housing, and as I mentioned, also got the spring washers, which I'm going to put on as well. So yeah, so hopefully now we've got everything that we need, and we can get cracking. So I'm just going to set up the tripod again, and we'll get these bushes installed, and we'll go from there. All right. Okay, so you remember last week we covered this with some plastic, just to keep it clean. One of our subscribers, Hooter700, he did highlight that I had put some paper towel over here, and he had highlighted that that's not a good idea because apparently the paper towel has these very fine fibers, and they can get onto the bearing surface and obviously create some problems. So I took those out as soon as he sent his advice, and just left the plastic on, which obviously we may reuse if we don't get finished today. But so this is obviously where the bush goes. Let me just open the pack. So there we go, there's the bush. It is a split bush, so you can see there is a gap there. I don't believe there's any particular way that it needs to go in. But what I have got is a socket which is just a little bit smaller than that hole, and I'm hoping that that's going to help us to get this in. However, I'm looking at this now, I'm thinking we probably need to knock it in from the other side, because that's quite a long hole, and of course the less you have to knock it, the better. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this over, I'm going to push this in from the other side, because I think the bush really needs to be further down than up, if you see what I mean. Okay, hopefully you can see that clearly. I think you can. Yeah, no, that's fine. Right, now, I'm glad I turned it over, because having turned it over, I feel there's a little bit of a burr on this edge. So what I'm going to do, I've just got a half round file, and I'm just literally going to just quickly deburr that. Okay, I think that'll do. Let's give that a wipe. Now we need to make sure we get rid of all the metal filings there as well. So yeah, that feels a lot better. I'll just give it another wipe just to be absolutely sure. Okay, there we go. Now the next thing, of course, is to put a little bit of oil on there. spread that around, make sure it's nicely lubricated. And then what I'll do is put some all the way around the outside of the bush as well. There we go. Right. Now, I'll try and get that lined up. Okay. Now, just with a piece of wood, I'm just going to gently tap it. And hopefully that's beginning to go. Right, that's almost down to the edge. I'd like it to be further down before we use the socket, so let's try. It's actually making indentations into the wood, which is why it's not going all the way down. So I'm just going to lightly tap it with a hammer. There we are, that's, again, hopefully you heard the change in tone, the ring there, which indicates that it's hitting the main housing, not just the bush. Now we'll just tap it in a little bit with the socket. Now, I don't want it to go too far down. I want it to be as close to as the edge, but not actually sticking out as. I mean, it's probably about say 3 to 4 millimeters from the face now. So there's 3 to 4 millimeters between the face of the trumpet housing and the top of the bush. And to me that feels about right. We want it to be on this side. We want this side to be carrying the load of the shaft, not further back. It probably doesn't matter, but to me that's what feels right in terms of supporting the shaft essentially at the earliest point possible, rather than right at the back, where the edge of the shaft may then actually create a groove in the bush. Look, that's my theory. I don't know if it's right. That's just what feels right to me. So there you go. That's that one in. I'm happy with that. I will oil it now already, but obviously we'll put a lot more oil in when we come to putting the shaft in. But that'll be later. It may not even be this weekend. So for now, I'm just going to put a bit of oil on there, on the face of it, just to keep it lubricated. Probably doesn't matter, but it's certainly not going to do any harm. So there you go. That's that one done. Now we're going to have to turn the trumpet housing around again. What I'll do is I'll do the other one while I've got everything set up here. I'll do the other one, and then we're going to turn them both around to get, on this one we're going to get that deflector put back in, and on the other one we've got to get the Welsh plug put back in. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, I've got it all turned around now, and again I've re-cleaned inside here. It's quite important that this is clean, because obviously you want the Welsh plug to seal, or it needs to seal in there. Now this is I believe the correct one. It's a 1 1/4 inch dish tap Welsh plug or core plug, whatever you call them, and that's what it looks like. It's so obviously it's a dish shape, and it has very sharp edge all the way around, which is ultimately what's going to seal inside there. So it basically goes in there, and what the idea is that it goes in, and then with a punch in the middle, we give it a good whack with a hammer, and that causes it to spread, sealing against the outer edge of this hole. But before we do that, you probably don't need to do this, but I like to do this. Let's put a little bit of Loctite on, just inside this, on this edge, just to be absolutely sure. Now this is just thread locker. It's the only one I've got, so it'll have to do. And as I said, the idea is that pops inside there. That needs to go straight, so we might need to just jiggle it a little bit, and it's still not quite right, so we'll just gently tap it around the outer edge just to get it to go all the way down. Doesn't seem to want to go down. Just give it a couple of good whacks on this edge. There we go. Now it's going. And basically it needs to go all the way down so that it's sitting on that ledge that's inside there. Okay, now that's all the way down. Now, as I said, I can get my bigger hammer. Now what we're going to do now as best you can in the center of the plug. You want to give that a good whack, hopefully just one, just to cause that to spread out. I think I might do another one. There we go. Okay, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Now, as I said, what's happened there, you obviously got this ring, and it's conical, and when you press the center down, the outside opens and expands like that, and that's basically seals that. And that really is just to stop the oil from going through. Obviously, inside here we've got all the diff oil, and that's just to stop the oil from going through and leaking out around the brake shaft. Sorry, that was the extractor fan that came on. It's on a timer and it decided to come on just at the wrong time. Anyway, so look, that's it. That's that one. Now the other one obviously has that deflector, which I'm going to show you next. Okay, so now we've got the other one, which has this the deflector that sits on top here, and that has two shims which help to seal it. So I'll just get some of the oil off there. Not that it matters, but okay, so we've got these two shims, and basically they go on there. What I might do is put them on the other side. So this is the other side that goes on, and that basically sits inside there like that. So what I'll do is get that on there. And I'm going to replace the two spring washers that were on there. Two nice new ones. And the two bolts that were the originals have obviously been cleaned up. So if we just get these on, they'll hold the shim in place like that. So I know I'm off camera at the moment, but just struggling with only having two hands, but there we go. So get those on and sitting nicely, and then in theory, if we pop that on there, get those bolts into the hole and started, and the same with that one. And then what we can do is just make sure that the shims, are sitting straight, which they are. And that's basically it. So now we'll just tighten those up. I think that's probably good enough. Oh, there you go. So that trumpet housing is now ready to go back on as well. I will just re-oil the bearing race. And these other faces as well, just to keep them protected whilst we work on other things. There we go. Alright, that's it for that. I'm going to move now to cleaning the other face of the diff. I'm not going to film that. It's very tedious. But I'll come back obviously when that's done. Well, there you go. Waterhouse Forde is now a lake. So this is normally the ford that we use to get across into the paddock. See if I can. So normally this drops down and we cross the river and into the paddock on that side. But as you can see this morning, the water is literally up to the level of our lawn. You can see how fast the river is flowing. We've had a massive amount of rain in the last couple of days, and of course this river comes down off of Exmoor and is basically emptying Exmoor. So huge amounts of water that need to be dispersed. And if we come around to this side, so here you can see how the water has breached the bank on the other side. So the bank is normally where this line of trees is here, and as you can see the river is now running across the field on the other side, as well as along its normal course, which is essentially around that corner there.